Hi, I'm Louise, and my channel is Spiral Bright Insight. I'm a galactic astrologer and quantum soul practitioner, certified with juliabalaz, and I do readings to explore your soul's origin and your galactic heritage. So, yeah, quite interesting work. I wanted to do a video to talk about being psychic and what exactly that means, because as well as looking at the astrology and reading a birth chart, which is actually quite technical and scientific work, I also do rely on my intuition and my psychic sort of abilities when I am looking at charts and pulling through stories, particularly about past lives and what a soul might be doing here at this time. So it was just really to give you my perspective on it, because I remember now I wasn't really brought up in a family where anybody I knew would describe themselves as intuitive or tapped into sort of anything other than the here and now, what people can see and touch, sort of the tangible third dimension reality. But I think I probably always sort of believed in ghosts. I believed that there was more to this lifetime than sort of met the eye. And I guess, without realizing it from a very early age, I was very sensitive and very aware of energies. I could sense, how people were feeling. And that sort of really empathic ability. But also, being sensitive, being intuitive, being empathic, and being psychic are all very similar in a lot of ways. But my understanding of being psychic was that, a psychic could see dead people, could hear dead people talking to them in their ears, there'd be a stream of sort of chit chat. And that's what I thought being psychic was. So I used to sort of think, well, I'm not psychic because, I don't see dead people. I do see lights sometimes. I see flashes, particularly blue and white flashes of light around things, around people. And occasionally I get impressions. I do think, oh, I can actually see someone there. Who's that? What's that about? Or I kind of catch things out the corner of my eye. So I wouldn't say that my clairvoyance is completely switched off, but it's not one of my strongest senses. So everything changed for me when I was taught that clairsentience was a thing. And along with that, claircognizance. So that sort of it's a part of psychic ability, but it is less sort of about what you can see and hear, and more about what you feel and what you know. So I would say that as an empath, clairsentience is very strong, because you sort of pick up on the energetic vibrations of sort of your environment, of the building you're in, of kind of where you are. And also you can be very, very tuned in to the emotions and feelings of the people around you. So clairsentience is literally when you feel something. So it's hard to describe if you've not experienced it, but it's very closely linked to claircognizance as well, which is when you just know things. So things sort of come in and it's like, oh, maybe I should think about that person, or when you just kind of it's really hard to sort of pin down and describe, but it is a knowing. So when I am working on a chart and sort of looking at the different houses, the different planets, the different fixed stars, and the energies and the stories of those fixed stars, I often just kind of get an idea comes into my head, which can be completely random. And I always trust that, you know, if it's there, it's kind of something that my higher self wants me to explore in more detail. So I will kind of start asking the questions, and I rely very much on my pendulum to give me yes and no answers. And quite often I'm finding when I'm using the pendulum, I know the answer before it starts swinging. So I am, you know, conscious that I need to start trusting my intuition even more strongly without relying on the tool of the pendulum, although they are brilliant and I actually wouldn't be without my pendulum. So yeah, kind of Claire. So all the clairs are a very strong sensitivity. They give you an awareness of what cannot be seen or heard with the physical eyes and ears. But it is more with the sentience and the cognizance, it is more a kind of knowing. It's quite hard to sort of put your finger on it. Now, one thing that I know a lot of people experience who are sensitive is something that I would describe as the spiritual shivers. So it's like a confirmation for me. If I kind of read something, or I'm told something, or I listen to something, or somebody tells me something that really resonates very strongly as truth, I will often feel it as a physical sensation in my body. And I would describe, I don't know, you know, kind of think, oh, you know, when you get the shivers, like, oh, people say, oh, someone just stepped on my grave. It's the kind of the little saying that people used to say when I was a child. But it's like a whoosh of energy, often from head to toe. And I always take that as a kind of confirmation that I'm onto something. I also get that when I am connecting with any sort of spiritual beings or guides that are strong. Yeah, I always sort of really tune into that, because I know that that's something that I need to pay really, really close and strong attention to. So just when you're thinking about astrology and looking at birth charts, because that is what I do, I would be looking for an indication of psychic ability or strong intuition or empathic ability through the water signs as the main indicator. So Pisces, Scorpio and Cancer are our 3 water signs. And if there are any planets or angles prominent in any of those signs, then that is often an indication. Now, the most important planets for that indicate psychic and intuitive abilities are the moon. Of course, the moon is our emotions and our intuition. Neptune, which is the planet of our dreams and illusions and psychic ability. Also, when it comes to the houses, it's important to look at the 8th and the 12th houses, and sometimes even the 4th house. If those houses have got the moon or Neptune in them, then that is often a strong indicator of psychic ability. And Sagittarius is the other sign which Sagittarians can see beyond. They can see the bigger picture. They can rise above. So that often brings in a quite intuitive side to them. So with Cancer, Cancerian and Cancerian moon, also Cancerian Mercury, because of course Mercury is the messenger in how we think and how we express ourselves and share information. Cancer is very sensitive to the environment. And with Cancer, you get a real sort of gut feeling or knowing. And of course, my moon is in Cancer, so I can 100% relate to that. With Scorpio, it tends to be more sort of piercing, more deep insight, very strong intuition, and a need or just a latent natural ability to investigate things and see deep below the surface. So again, that's a really strong indicator. So if you have Mercury, the moon, or Neptune in Scorpio, that is a really big clue. And with Pisces, Pisces is the more sort of psychic, the more at one with all that is type energy. So there are no boundaries with Pisces. So you can see beyond and you can sort of merge with all that is. So Pisces is more about the subconscious. It is more about our dreams. It's a very visionary sign, a very compassionate, very psychic sign. And as it happens, I have Mercury in Pisces. So again, that is quite a strong indicator of psychic ability. And interestingly, my Mercury in Pisces sits in my 6th house, and the 6th house is the sign traditionally ruled by Virgo. It relates to the body. It's also about service. But it's interesting that I get a lot of my psychic impressions through my body. One of my clients described it actually as a visceral reaction, and I think, yeah, that is exactly what it is. If I am looking for confirmation on something, I am judging my body. So I also use a technique that I was taught through an access consciousness program that I did, where we ask how does it feel, and if things feel light, that is a yes, and if it feels things heavy, that is a no. And that actually is the technique that I use a lot as well. So I hope that is interesting. I'd love to know where you feel you have psychic abilities and how that comes through, and if you do know about astrology, whether that shows up in your chart as well. So yeah, please do share, please like the video. If you wish to subscribe, that'd be great. My channel is small, but you've got to start somewhere. So thank you so much for watching, and I will be back soon.